Gary Nystrom. I'm a councilman at large here at the City of Boone, and was asked if I would do the introductions today, and I have a lot of pleasure in doing that. Before we get to our featured guests, there's a few people in the audience I think we need to introduce. Other city councilmen from Boone that are here: Greg Picklack, Peter Stevenson, our city administrator, Luke Nelson. We have a couple board of supervisors members here from Boone, Chet Hollingshead, Steve Duffy, and school board president or superintendent of schools, Brad Menard. Thank you for coming. I know we have some school board members here also. And provost from Des Moines Area Community College, Tom Lee. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anyone, but that's some elected officials. We appreciate it very much that you were able to make it. We know the weather was a little testy today, but we felt it important to keep things on schedule. The governor and lieutenant governor are going to be traveling to Jefferson from here, so if Jefferson can have it, Boone can have it. That's the right way to look at it. They're not going to condemn us. So without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Governor Terry Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Ken Reynolds.
Very nice, thank you very much, and thank you all for coming out on this day. I guess we need the moisture, so we can't complain about getting a little bit of rain and snow in the last 2 days. But anyway, we're pleased to see so many people come out on this day, and I want to thank you for joining us. Lieutenant Governor and I began a tradition of taking the condition of the state address around the state of Iowa and holding these kind of town hall meetings to share with you our vision for the future, but also to answer your questions. We believe it's important to have open and accessible government, and something that really we want Iowans to know that we have a very focused plan of action that we have presented to the legislature this year. I'm pleased to report that in 2 years since taking office, we've made great progress. In fact, State Auditor David Blount today had a press conference and talked about how the state of Iowa was in the best fiscal position that we've been in the 10 years that he has been the state auditor, and also that we are doing long-range planning, which has not been done in the past. Our state's balanced budget is built on the principles of stability and predictability. We did this by restoring proper budgeting practices and insisting on strict fiscal discipline. We insisted on a 2-year budget, and we measure all tax and spending decisions through the lens of a 5-year budget projection. As a result of the tough choices that we made, Iowa currently is in the best financial position in our state's long and proud history. We redesigned our economic development efforts, which have paid big dividends, leading to the 2 largest private capital investments in Iowa history, with construction of the new fertilizer plant in Lee County and significant fertilizer investment in Woodbury County as well. All total, in the 2 years since this administration took office, our efforts have landed more than $5.3 billion in capital investments in the state of Iowa. These investments translate into jobs for thousands of Iowans and higher incomes for many Iowa families. When we took office 2 years ago, the Iowa unemployment rate was over 6%. We have, in the last 2 years, created nearly 100,000 new jobs, and our unemployment rate has now dropped to 4.9%, the lowest it's been in 4 years. Family incomes in Iowa have grown at the second highest rate in the nation, nearly 7%. Now, the only state that's beating us is North Dakota, but they have got oil as well as agriculture in North Dakota. We want to build on these successes and really focus on the future. This year, our bold plan of action focuses specifically on 3 goals. First is job creation and expanding opportunities for Iowa families. Second, improving educational opportunities for Iowa's children. And third, improving the health of all of our citizens. This is our opportunity to build a better Iowa. This is our Iowa. Thanks to our fiscal management, we have a surplus, and I believe we can grow Iowa's economy by returning a significant portion of our state's budget surplus to the taxpayers who made that surplus possible in the first place. We're proposing a significant plan to reform the property tax system and make it more competitive. We intend to provide nearly $400 billion in actual property tax relief to Iowa's hardworking taxpayers. The principles guiding our property tax plan are simple. Permanent property tax relief and no shift of property tax burden between classes of property, and property tax reduction for all classes of property in our state. Our plan has three significant components. First, the budget fully funds the homestead tax credit and elderly and disabled tax credit for fiscal years 2014 and 15. We provide an additional $33 million to do this. This is the first time in many years that the state has fully funded these tax credits. Second, we permanently change the school formula so that we replace allowable growth with 100% state aid. No longer will the school aid formula automatically trigger increases in local property taxes. Third, we stop any future tax shifts between classes of property by tying the classes together in one combined rollback, correcting that was a mistake that was made in the 1970s when the original rollback was implemented. This legislation will take the current 4% cap on valuations for residential and agriculture property and cut it in half to 2% and apply it to all classes of property. Left unchecked, because our present law, the 1970s law, ties residential to agriculture, and you know we went through a period of time when agriculture commodity prices were depressed, but now we've gone through a period of unprecedented high commodity prices. To use a 5-year rolling average, determine the value of farmland based on commodity prices and yields. So you go back 6 years ago, we had $3 corn and $6 beans. Those are long since gone, and now when we add in all these 5 high years, obviously it's going to drive up ag valuations and residential with it. Present law lets it go up 4% a year. So we're going to see 4% increase every year for the foreseeable future if we don't do something about it. That's why it's so critical that we not only address property tax for commercial and industrial, but also limit residential and agriculture. Left unchecked, our current law would allow taxes to grow by $2 billion over the next 8 years, and half of that increase would fall on homeowners. I find that prospect terrifying. Our plan permanently reduces commercial and industrial property taxes by 20% over the next 4 years and provides direct funding to local governments to replace 100% of the property tax revenue. In other words, we 100% replace the property tax revenue, we backfill that with state dollars. And the result of that is, and we had a press conference this morning with a number of local officials from around the state, this is our effort to make sure that local governments get the growth for new residential, new commercial and industrial, and the state fully replaces it and roll down the property tax by 20% for commercial and industrial over the next 4 years. That is about $350 million of direct property tax replacement of state going to local governments on top of the $36 million we have to fully fund the homestead and elderly and disabled tax credit. Small businesses in Iowa have for some time paid among the highest property tax rates in the nation. These taxes mean less money are available for businesses to hire new employees or increase salaries for their existing employees. Our Skilled Iowa initiative, which is in addition to what we're doing on the property tax side, is designed to focus, to build on what we've already done with science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, a program that Lieutenant Governor is co-chair along with the President of the University of Northern Iowa, Ben Allen. That program is to ensure workers in Iowa get the skills they need to fill the high-paying jobs of today and tomorrow. Now, the community colleges are playing a role in helping us with this, but the big problem we hear as we go around the state is we need to bridge this skills gap that so many employers have articulated is an impediment. They have jobs available, but can't find people with the right skill set to fill them. It's simply unacceptable for us to hear again and again, as we travel throughout the state, that we have good jobs available, but not people with the right skills to fill them. So this Skilled Iowa program is designed to help provide the resources so people can get this training and be certified to have the skills for the jobs that are available. We hope to grow this program and work with new employers that are seeking skilled workforce while serving more Iowans. Through lower property taxes and a more highly skilled workforce, in addition to our successful economic development efforts, we have an opportunity to stimulate the state's economy and provide our citizens with high-quality careers that they truly deserve. This is our opportunity. This is our Iowa. Now I want to invite the Lieutenant Governor up to discuss another big priority we have, which is education reform. I'm not all pencil
Well, thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. This is a really good turnout considering the weather, so we appreciate you taking the time to let us update you on what the Governor talks about, the condition of the state. You know, since taking office, the Governor and I have always had as one of our top priorities restoring Iowa's leadership position in education. And really, in today's knowledge-based global economy, we need to make sure that students finish high school either ready for college or career training. It's really an economic as well as a moral imperative. We cannot continue to be complacent. Iowa 8th graders led the nation in math in 1992, and education consisted of 37% of the state budget. Now we rank 25th, and education constitutes 43% of the state budget. And it's not really because our scores have slipped, because our scores have remained stagnant. Just 8% of Iowa 8th graders scored at the advanced level in math on national tests. When you compare that to 15% in Massachusetts, which is #1 in the nation. Among Iowa's high school class of 2012, who went directly from high school to the community college, more than 36% had to enroll in a remedial class. And we want to make it clear that we are not saying that it's teachers that are the problem. We know from visiting school districts all across the state of Iowa, from holding numerous town halls, from the summit that we had, the Teachers and Principal Leadership Symposium, and I'm proud to say that not only my daughter is a first grade teacher in Preston, but the governor's daughter teaches third grade in Waukee. So we get to see firsthand the important role that teachers play in educating our students. But unfortunately, we feel that teachers are stuck in a system that was designed for the 20th century, and we need to work together to transform Iowa's schools for the 21st century. We believe that by establishing new roles for top teachers who will provide instructional leadership alongside principals to better meet the needs of every student. And that's why we're elevating the profession, why elevating the teaching profession is at the heart of our 2013 education plan. It really has 3 key pieces, and the centerpiece of our plan is to revitalize Iowa schools with a new teacher, leadership, and compensation structure. Relying on teacher leadership is really a hallmark of not only high-performing school systems around the country, but also around the world. Establishing new career pathways promises to do more than just raise student achievement. It will also offer some of our outstanding teachers new professional opportunities within their field. Educators will be able to advance their careers in the classroom through numerous pathways. The end result for Iowa children will be better performances in the classroom as well as better opportunities for the future. We're also recommending the state investment in this new teacher compensation model to keep our best performing teachers in the classroom throughout their entire careers. We tend to lose a lot of them 5 years in other professions, and we want to make sure that they have a career pathway so we can keep them in our schools, systems, teaching our children. The second piece of the plan, of our education reform plan, is the Teach Iowa initiative, and that addresses another key problem, which is recruiting top students into to become teachers. We need to attract more of our best students into the teaching profession, and we propose doing this by raising the beginning salary from $28,000 to $35,000 a year. In addition, we also recommend a tuition reimbursement for the best students who teach for at least 5 years in an Iowa school, and it'd be 4,000 each year up to $20,000. Priority at the beginning will be placed on students majoring in hard to higher subjects like math and science, but awards will also go to future teachers in other majors as well. And the Teach Iowa initiative also includes a pilot to expand the traditional one-semester student teaching to a year-long apprenticeship in partner schools. Stronger clinical experiences stand to better prepare future teachers. And then the third key piece of our plan to revitalize education in Iowa is a new college or career-ready skill that high school students may earn in addition to their diploma. Students would have the opportunity at the state's expense to take a college entrance or workforce readiness test. The program would make it clear what it means to be college or career ready, and this would be based on the real-world expectations of Iowa education as well as business leaders. And really, the governor talked a little bit about it, but this just continues to build on the STEM initiative, science, technology, engineering, and math. And the initiative already is enhancing learning opportunities for Iowa's children all across the state of Iowa. We were able to implement over 800 programs in school districts all across the state of Iowa last year in a pretty small time frame, impacting nearly 40,000 students. So all across Iowa, parents, students, and communities are recognizing the need for enhanced STEM education. And what we found is we have some great programs, but it kind of depended on where you lived, whether you had access to those programs or not. And so through a bipartisan effort in the legislature last year, and a generous appropriation of $4.7 million, we really have taken those programs, 12 high-quality scalable programs, and dispersed those across the state of Iowa. This benefits children in preparing them for the jobs of tomorrow. So when Iowa can brag about having the best educated workforce anywhere, more businesses will locate and expand in Iowa. And as a result, more of our young people will stay in Iowa because they can land a good job that pay well and allow them to enjoy a great quality of life. So with that, I think the governor's going to wrap up with kind of a quick overview about the last proposal that we have.
Finally, I wish to speak to you about an issue that stands near and dear to my heart and the quality of life in Iowa. And that issue is the health and well-being of each and every citizen of the state, and my desire to make Iowa the healthiest state in the nation. The obesity epidemic and the onset of more and more chronic diseases stretches the capacity of our medical system to meet our needs and stretches the ability of our taxpayers to support programs such as Medicaid. This is why we've embarked on an ambitious public-private partnership to make Iowa the healthiest state in the nation. Through this, we've established blue zone communities as well as the healthiest state law, and that has attracted over 300,000 participants each of the last 2 years. We've moved up in the ranking from 19th in the country to 9th, and we have the goal within 5 years to be number 1. We have an opportunity to make Iowa's communities vibrant by ensuring that healthcare professionals are there to meet the needs of our residents. To do this, we need healthcare professionals in our communities. We have 2 fine medical schools. I used to be the president of one of them, Des Moines University, and then the University of Iowa. And yet, despite the fact that we train a lot of fine physicians, many of them leave the state. Iowa is 46th in the nation in internal medicine, 47th in pediatric, 48th in psychiatry, and last in both emergency medicine and obstetrics gynecology. And yet we are home to these 2 great medical schools, and I always talk about one of the graduates that has come back to Iowa, and that is Katie Howe from here in Boone. And you may know that she, when I first came to Des Moines University, she was the youngest student we had. She was 20 years old and already in medical school. And Chris and I had just moved to Boone, and I wanted to know, how in the world did she get to medical school at age 20? Well, I found out that she enrolled through dual enrollment, took enough courses at DMAC here in Boone to graduate from DMAC at the same time she graduated from high school. Then she went to Iowa State, double majored in 2 years, and then went on to medical school. Not only did she do that, her 2 younger brothers did the same thing. And they've all now completed their medical education. She then went out to Las Vegas and did her residency, and that's where we sometimes lose them. But you may well know that she has come back to Boone, and she's a emergency room physician here at the Boone County Hospital. My wife used to be a volunteer with the hospital before I came back to the governor's office. Today we're proposing 3 initiatives that we think will help keep more Iowa physicians here and help make us a healthier state. First is my budget proposal to provide $2 million for more medical residency programs in the state, so we don't break the chain. We educate them here, they go to medical school here, they do their rotation here, they do their residency here, we have a much better chance. So we want to start some more residency programs within the state of Iowa, working with the hospitals in our state to provide those. Second proposal is to provide $2 million to launch the Rural Physician Loan Repayment Program and expand it to include OBGYN and emergency medicine docs, as well as primary care physicians. This was approved last year, but we also just got a modest amount of funding. And private sector, including primary care physicians, have indicated that if the state puts $2 million, they will go out to raise $2 million privately. This can do a lot to give an incentive for doctors that graduate with a lot of debt to choose to stay and practice in underserved areas of the state of Iowa. Our third proposal is to come together and pass a certificate of merit law, which is the law in 25 other states, and a cap on non-economic damages. A certificate of merit would simply require that when a medical malpractice lawsuit is filed, a medical expert would review the facts of the case and determine whether or not it could possibly be the result of substandard care. This lets the real claims move forward and takes the weight of bad claims off the healthcare and judicial system. The condition, and by the way, that bill is out of committee in the House of Representatives, thanks to Chip Baltimore, the chair of the Judiciary Committee. I know both Representative Baltimore and Senator Jerry Bain very well, and Chip is in a very important position now as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and you may know last week was a fund week, and that was one of a number of bills that came out of the Judiciary Committee. The condition of our state, as a kind of a wrap-up here, today is very strong, and it's growing stronger. I believe it's because we made some of the tough decisions we did 2 years ago to get our state back on track. While other states are burdened with a lot of debt and looming uncertainty, and I just came from California, where they have big debt and regulatory and debt tax problems like you can't believe. Illinois, very similarly, you know the mess the federal government is in. We're the exception. Now, we're not alone. You look to the west, and you got states like Nebraska and North and South Dakota that are very similar to us, but we think that Iowa has a lot going for it. While other states are choking away opportunities right out of their states through overtaxation and overregulations, our focus is on reducing the tax and regulatory burdens and bringing more good jobs to our state. We want to turn the page and write a whole new chapter of Iowa history, a chapter that will be one of growth and opportunity. I believe this is the great opportunity that we have today. I'm proud of what we've accomplished the last 2 years, but we've only just begun. Thank you very much. Now we have an opportunity to answer your questions. Any comments, suggestions you might have? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Gail Coombs. I'm from Boone. I've moved here in '85. I was born and raised in Iowa. I have a grandson who's 20 years old, started having seizures. Well, he can't hold a job. Now, he watches his 5-year-old granddaughter, or my granddaughter, his sister.
Yeah.
And he gets money from his mother, who has a job building transmissions for $12.50 an hour. And in your plans, when I read in the paper, you want him to pay $20 now and pay for his medicine. And the phrase I really resent is that one skin in the game. I heard it a year ago, not first from you. I can see that under capital investments, that skin in the game. I buy a house, I had to put down payment on it, I buy a car, that's fine. But with health, that's a whole different thing. There should be no comparison. And there's no way my grandson, if he could have a job, he's not eligible for disability because when he applies, they tell him that when you're not having a seizure, you can work. Now, I don't know who will hire him right now if he watches his sister, that's fine. But just a real dead end for people at my level. I'm fortunate I have a good job. I'm a carpenter over at Iowa State. I have a public service. I help turn this economy around, and with all due respect to your programs and your opinions, I know it bottomed out under Governor Chet Culver due to a lot of things, the one-time spending opportunities and all that. Hopefully we won't have to do that again. I respect every effort you make in your capacity. I don't always agree with it, but I do want to address this healthcare issue because people at my level, those wages have bottomed out, and I don't see any training programs for the skilled labor at that level. As a carpenter, people who have hands-on hourly wage earners. And I'll sit down. Thank you very much.
Well, you brought up a number of things, but with regard to the Skilled Iowa program, that is specifically designed to actually try to help people do that, and there's this
NCRC, National Career Readiness Certificate Program, that they can take the test, and it really helps us identify where the strengths and weaknesses are at, and we work with them to get them to the next level. The jobs are there, the openings are there, and this is what will help them.
And what we did is, actually, Bill Knapp and I had some discussions on property tax, and you may know Bill Knapp's the biggest contributor to Democrats in the state of Iowa. But actually, he's working with us to help also on the property tax issue, and he suggested that really we need to try to help. There's employers that want to hire, but you can't find people with the right skills. So what he's doing, he and Jim County and others are raising private money to help pay the cost for people to go through this NCRC, this National Certificate Program. And that's what, because you have a lot of people that are unemployed, but they don't have the right skill set. So we're trying to work on that. With regard to the health situation, with regard to the relatives that you talked about, we have recommended something called the Healthy Iowa the Healthy Iowa Plan, which would provide assistance to people like that. And in fact, if people were to do health risk assessments and other things like that, they can actually, when we say we want them to make some contribution towards it, if they, however, do these things in terms of wellness issues, they can actually earn back, it's $5 a month. So it's not a huge amount of money, but that can actually be picked up, the state would match it, and then the patient's portion of it can be picked up if they follow the wellness opportunities and do health risk assessments and the thing. What we're trying to do is this. We're trying to move people from just going to the emergency room of the hospital on Medicaid and demanding services there to instead saying, contributing something towards helping it, and the state would help on that. The reason why I think this is a better alternative is I just don't believe the federal government, you know the fiscal mess that they're in, I don't think they're going to be able to afford to continue with all of these entitlement programs when that's what's driving this huge deficit that's driving up the national debt by $1 trillion a year.
And they completely underestimated the cost of going from $900 billion originally to, what is it?
7.4
trillion. I mean, as we, for 10 years out, so they completely underestimated what the cost of it is, because when they first relayed the cost, they hadn't done any of the outlays yet. And it's as simple as taking an annual physical, health risk assessment. I mean, it's not cumbersome things that we're trying to move individuals into so that they can help with the health of the physician monitor their well-being. And really, it's just about making the right choice. Making the right choice is an easy choice. So we're not trying to make it a heavy bureaucracy or cumbersome, but just helping people move through a healthier lifestyle. And if you talk to any of the businesses that we meet with, almost all of them are moving to the healthiest or well-being initiatives. And we've seen tremendous success with the health of their employees and reducing the cost of healthcare. So, I mean, we really view it as a win-win, not only for the individuals, but also for the cause.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm new to Boone and new to Iowa. I lived here for about 3 months. Thank you both for coming today and giving us the opportunity to speak with you. Lieutenant Governor, you mentioned STEM programs. Can you please expand upon, I guess, your platform or plan to improve or fund STEM programming in Iowa?
Okay, so what we did is, originally what we did was we divided the state into 6 regions because, as I indicated earlier, the overarching goal is to increase student interest and achievement in STEM subjects and make sure that no matter where an individual lives, that they have access to some of these great programs. Because not everybody has an individual at home or with them that's telling them they can do or be anything that they want to be. But we feel that if we can get their hands on these programs, then they can start to see the relevance of taking these classes and the impact that will have on the quality of their life going forward. So in order to disseminate this, we divided the state into 6 regions. Each region has a hub location. It's a community college. It's the 3 universities. Drake University is a hub location. Down in the southeast region, we have a combination with University of Iowa and Kirkwood Community College, so it's a partnership. So we have a lot of different examples working all across the state, because northeast Iowa sometimes doesn't actually have the same needs that southwest Iowa would need. Each location has a hub manager, 15-member advisory board. It's a public-private partnership, so we're really encouraging, and we want business and industry to drive this initiative so that we can make sure that we're educating students with the skill set that they need to be successful when they leave high school. So that was what we did originally for the infrastructure. The legislature last year, as I indicated, appropriated $4.7 million for the initiative. I'm very proud to say, and I was very adamant about this, that the majority of those dollars got out into the state in programs and in the hands of students. So each hub received over $500,000 to implement the program. The next thing that we did is we identified some high scalable quality STEM programs. We did an RFP. We identified 12, and so each one of the after-school programs, school districts could apply, and there's funding that went with the program. This happened really relatively quickly because we got started late, and we thought that we could get maybe 300 after-school programs or school districts apply to help get these programs in the hands of students. We had over 900 applications for these products, really indicating a strong interest out there, not only parents understanding how important it is for kids to take these, but the school districts also. So we stretched that funding as far as we could, and we were able to satisfy at least 800 and some, impacting over 40,000 students. Last year alone, we just released the application this year for 9 new scalable programs. We're looking at ways that we can bring private industry in so that we can leverage the public dollars that have been provided for this initiative, so that we can outreach even further and hopefully get these programs in front of more kids. Underrepresented, underserved, kids in West Iowa. We also put together a heat map so we could identify who was getting the program, and we have 18 evaluators in place so that we can start to measure this to make sure that we're putting these dollars in the right place, and if we're not, that we can back up and restructure and go another round. Overarching goal again is to increase student interest and achievement, to hook up mentors in the private sector with students, internships, externships. That's all part of this package to help engage our student population and ensure that they're ready for career or college once they leave high school.
Science, technology, engineering, and math, those are the fields that have the greatest growth,
Yes.
and they're also the fields that pay the best. So we're really, I'm very excited about what the Lieutenant Governor and Ben Allen have been able to do. You may know that Ben Allen is retiring as president of the University of Northern Iowa, but Mary Ann Drinkham, who just completed her term as president of the National Association of Manufacturers, the first woman to chair that, is going to be the co-chair along with the Lieutenant Governor going forward, I think, from July 1.
And I'll just tell you too, we're receiving a lot of national recognition for this, for the program and what we've been able, and listen, we have got an executive board that's business and industry, nonprofit, teachers, higher education, a very diverse group of individuals that have really put all of this together and really been helpful in really implementing it, as well as over 200 individuals across the state that are helping on different task forces moving forward. So if it's something you're interested in, get your information to me afterwards, and we'd love to
corporate taxes and property taxes are two different taxes. And they're both somewhat complicated. Let's talk about the corporate tax first of all. On corporate taxes, we have what we call the single factor corporate income tax. It's based on sales. Now, it's really good if you're a manufacturer like John Deere or Winnebago or Rockwell Collins, and most of your sales are outside the state of Iowa. It's not so good if you're a fertilizer company and most of your sales are to farmers in Iowa. So that's the reason why we've had to provide some incentive for these fertilizer plants. And frankly, the incentive we're providing them, we're not giving them cash. We're just saying, we know our corporate taxes are too high, so we're going to provide a tax reduction because of the jobs you're creating in the state. And this means they're still gonna pay corporate tax. They're just gonna pay a little less than they otherwise would pay. But the property tax in Iowa is among the highest in the country. But all of the property tax revenue doesn't go to the state. It all goes to counties, cities, and school districts. And so if we're gonna reduce the property tax at the state level, we have to protect local government's source of revenue. And so what we're gonna do is dollar for dollar replace it. So we're saying, okay, I think what we're doing is very good for local governments, because for every dollar we're gonna reduce in property tax, we're gonna send that back to local governments. Then, if new residences and new businesses located in the community, you get the benefit of that too. Because all of the property taxes go to local governments, not to the state. But that's the reason why we need to do it this way. And we have looked at it and we've said, generally the property tax in Iowa, the rates are high, but because of the single factor formula, it's really advantageous, especially for manufacturers that do significant exporting. But we have to do something for those ones that don't. I would like to reduce the corporate income tax too, but frankly, I don't think I can get that through the Ways and Means Committee with Mr. Bolcom as the chair of it. So we have to do something that's realistic. The property tax, and frankly, I'm going to go down to Lee County because Mr. Bolcom was very aggressive in attacking the chair, my economic development director, Debbie Durham. But I'm going to just explain this Iowa fertilizer plant to you. There's going to be 3,500 construction jobs, 165 permanent jobs, and then all kinds of other auxiliary jobs for businesses in the area. But the big benefit is, once it's in operation, the Iowa Farm Bureau estimates it will reduce the annual cost for nitrogen fertilizer, which is one of the big costs of growing corn, by $600 million a year. Or $600 to $700 million, depending on your estimate. That's just one plant. And the one in northwest Iowa is similar. So this is the huge benefit from this. Now, the benefit to the state is, it's estimated we're going to get $50 million more in revenue. Now, and to say this is a bad deal for the state of Iowa, that's just not true. But, and I guess what I present is, when you have a chairman of the Ways and Means Committee who's from Iowa City, which, they get the most money of anybody, because we're rebuilding all those buildings that were redone with the flood. Now, this is some of it's federal dollars and other things, but I guess when you have somebody representing that area that begrudges Lee County with the highest unemployment in the state getting these kind of quality of jobs, I think that's unfortunate.
The only thing I was going to add to the property tax reform, as a former county official, I have a lot of my colleagues calling me and saying, oh, sure, you say it's there, but how can you guarantee us that it's going to be there? So the back bill has been placed in the standing appropriation, which means it would take an act by both the House and the Senate and signature of the governor in order to repeal that. It is not subject in the future, if it would ever, it won't happen under our
So it
law,
means
but
it's a
10%
standing
of our-
appropriation going forward. That means every year it will just happen automatically unless the legislature repeals it. And to repeal it would take, it takes 26 votes in the House, 51 in the Senate, and the governor's signature. That ain't gonna happen.
Another question, not a lot of farmers in here today, but, we've been talking about the nutrient reduction plan. Do you foresee if as agriculture, as farmers, if we don't come together and get serious about this nutrient reduction plan, do we face the fear of EPA coming in and saying, you're gonna no-till, you're gonna reduce
already seen a lot of people change their farming practices to reduce tillage and also filter strips and things like this. But yeah, if we don't voluntarily do these things, I think you will see the heavy hand. And I've heard some estimates that would put 47% of Iowa's farmland out of production if they come in with a heavy hand like that. So we need to work in, this is something that was jointly put together with Department of Agriculture, Department of Natural Resources, Iowa State University, and the Governor's Office. And we are one of the first states to come up with a nutrient reduction plan. We put funding in the budget to support that for the next 2 years. So, but I think it is important that we take this seriously and do all that we can to try to reduce it, because there are a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that don't understand agriculture production out there that would like to do some real damage to whether it's crop production or livestock production, and those are pretty vital to our state's economic well-being.
Well, and anytime you can be proactive and getting ahead of the EPA, that'd be beneficial.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Bonnie, you remember?
The STEM stuff, I thought maybe you could tell on the website.
Oh, iowastem.gov
Thank you.
is where you'll find all the information.
Yeah.
Jeff Anderson, I'm a local school board member and also a healthcare provider. I guess you mentioned the importance of long-term budget.
Yep.
We have a school board meeting tomorrow night, we're setting our budget out this time of year. We have no idea what level we're going to be.
Now, we're not gonna have allowable growth, we're gonna have supplemental state aid. The House passed 2% supplemental state aid for each of the next 3 years, and they passed the education reform. The Senate, one of their members just had open heart surgery. He won't be back till Wednesday. Unfortunately, the Senate hasn't taken that bill up. I don't know when they'll take it up. But the House is basically, I think you can rely on the House bill. We're supporting the House bill, and it does have 2% supplemental state aid plus the education reform that we've been seeing.
I'm saying 2% for bill means $500,000 reduction each of the next 2 years in positions. And with the new program that we're talking about, even if we thought it was really going to work, we said this is the program we need. It would create basically the equivalent of 8 new positions for bill. In those next 2 years, we're probably back to 12 to 15. So
Well, let me ask you how that translates into that kind of reduction. You have that kind of reduction in enrollment? You have that kind of loss in enrollment?
Our costs are going up 3 to 4% a year, we're getting 2%.
Well, wait a minute.
Ogden is cutting 500,000, just dropped about.
We lost one student, so.
But they're a third our size, and they're cutting 500,000. Ballard's cutting $1 million. We're cutting 400,000 again. Since the last teacher pay initiative that brought us up basically about $35,000, we have about 25 fewer teacher equivalents than what we have then, and the number goes down every year. 2% is not enough to maintain what we're doing, let alone.
Well, I don't think what we're saying is basically, if we keep doing the way we've been doing things, we keep spending more money and our student achievement goes down. We've got to find a way to do things better. Let me tell you what we've done in state government. We're down 900 employees from the day we took office. We're finding better, more efficient ways to deliver those services. We're also saying maybe we need to reduce administration and rely more on teachers in leadership positions. So I guess what we're saying is, let's not have the mindset we've got to always do things the way we've done it, and it's just because we've done that for the last 20 years. We've gone from being #1 in America in student achievement in '92 to now we're 25th. And yet our K through 12 funding has gone up from 37% of the state budget to 43% of the state budget. That's the reason why we have spent the last 2 years, we brought a whole new director of education in, Jason Glass, who came from Colorado, where he's done some very innovative things. I got Linda Fennell to come from the Des Moines Register and join the governor's staff. We've had an education summit. We've had a teacher and administrator leadership symposium. We've had a task force that included educators from around the state and stakeholders that's come up with this plan. And I guess what we're saying is, and I'm saying this very sincerely, I've been very patient on this thing, but I think now's the time for us to embark on a new approach that will focus on things that will get us student achievement and have more accountability, not just think that having more personnel and working for the school district will get us better results, because it hasn't. Yes?
My name is J.T. own and operate local hotel in town. And I really appreciate what the property tax reform is doing, and it's more competitive to bring the job in the state and more competitive on the state level. But the reform is good, but the local government level, that if they are doing when they do the assessment, if they increase on the 20%, like you are trying to use it, then on the bottom of the end taxpayer, we pay same taxes, and then the actually state just funding more to the local governments.
Well, I know what you're saying, and that's something you're saying, if we reduce property taxes by 20% and local governments increase the assessment by 20%, you won't have made any progress. And we're aware of the fact that property taxes are combination state and local. I guess the only thing we can say is, you need to really monitor that at the local level to make sure that those assessments are fair and that they don't just automatically increase them. We've just gone through a time where where a lot of our commercial property have actually gone down in value because we've gone through a national recession, and it's had an impact on our businesses as well. So the assessment should be, if anything, going down, not up, in most cases.
It went up 20%.
Well, I think this is our problem. That's been the history. Commercial property taxes have gone up dramatically, and we want to do what we can. Right now, your commercial property is taxed at 100% of market value. Now, if they're trying to assess it at more than market value, you ought to appeal that.
Understandable, but
Right.
the thing is, what the state level government doing, it's great that we are more competitive to the other state level, but the local level does not cooperate with what you do with programs.
Well, that's why you need to work with people, and you have representatives here on the Board of Supervisors, city councils, and school boards. It's their responsibility to carefully manage and control those costs. We're doing what we can at the state level. We've reduced the size and cost of government. We're working to be more accountable and more efficient. And that's why I said in the answer to the school board, it's not just hiring more teachers. It's finding a way to be able to provide better services with fewer people. And that's what we're doing. I can tell you we've done that with the Civil Rights Commission. We've done it with agency after agency in state government. Finding ways, first of all, make sure that we have competent, quality people that are cross-trained and do the job.
The other thing that we're really watching, we've talked about that in the open remarks, is we're really kind